Every Western you've ever watched lied to you. Those six-shooters spinning on fingers? Never happened. The quick-draw duels at high noon? Hollywood fantasy. The lone gunman taking down six men with perfect aim? Physically impossible. The truth about Old West firearms is so different from what you've been sold that it changes everything you think you know about gunfighters, sheriffs, and outlaws. Because here's what they don't tell you. Most gunfights happened at point-blank range. Revolvers. Jammed constantly. Bullets went everywhere except where they were aimed. And the legendary fastest gun in the West? That title was invented by dime novels selling fairy tales to people back east who'd never touched a firearm. The real Old West wasn't won by marksmen. It was survived by lucky men with malfunctioning weapons who fired first and lied about it later. Let me show you what actually happened. Picture Dodge City, Kansas. July 1878. The street isn't empty and dramatic. It's crowded, loud, dusty. Horses tied to posts outside saloons where men are already drunk at noon. The smell of manure mixing with tobacco smoke and sweat. You're carrying a Colt Peacemaker, the most famous revolver in history. Hollywood made it legendary. Clint Eastwood made it iconic. But here's what the movies won't tell you. That Colt weighs 3 pounds loaded. The trigger pull is 12 pounds of pressure, which means your hand is shaking before you even fire. The barrel is 7.5 inches long, and there's no front sight worth trusting. You've got 6 rounds. Except you don't. Because anyone with half a brain carries it on an empty chamber. Why? Because one fall, one bump, one wrong move, and that hammer drops onto a live round pointed at your own leg. So you've really got 5 shots. Now here's the kicker. You've probably never practiced. Ammunition costs money. Most cowboys, outlaws, even lawmen couldn't afford to waste bullets on target practice. They learned to shoot by shooting at people. And the accuracy? Laughable. Tests done with original 1870s Colts show that at 25 yards, not even across a full street, trained shooters today hit a man-sized target maybe 30% of the time. In 1878, with no formal training, under pressure, while someone's shooting back, you're lucky to hit the building. This wasn't the Old West of heroic gunfighters with steady hands and perfect aim. This was chaos with a trigger, panic weaponized, and the men who survived weren't the best shots. They were the ones willing to shoot first from 3 feet away. Now add the fear. Because everyone's armed and nobody trusts the law. Sheriffs in frontier towns weren't FBI agents. They were whoever took the job. Sometimes they were former outlaws. Sometimes they were drunks. Sometimes they'd shot a man the week before and the town just looked the other way. There are rumors, always rumors. That cowboy at the bar insulted someone's wife. That gambler's been cheating. That rancher's crew is looking for revenge after a land dispute went bad. Tensions build for days, weeks. Nobody does anything because nobody wants to be the one who starts it. But everyone knows it's coming. Here's what Hollywood never shows. The waiting. The sick feeling in your stomach. Checking over your shoulder. Sleeping with your gun. Not because you're brave. Because you're terrified. And your weapon? It's probably not even clean. Black powder revolvers foul up after a few shots. Dirt gets in the mechanism. Percussion. Caps misfire in humid weather. Cartridge rounds swell in the heat. You pull that trigger and there's a real chance nothing happens. Or worse, it does, but 3 seconds too late. Hang fires were common. You squeeze, hear a click, think you're safe, then bang. The delayed ignition sends a round into the dirt, or the ceiling, or your friend standing next to you. Most gunfights weren't planned. They exploded. Someone said the wrong thing. Someone reached too fast. Someone panicked. And when it started, it wasn't graceful. It was stumbling backward while drawing, dropping your weapon, firing blind through smoke, screaming, begging. The fast draw you've seen in movies. That was invented for film in the 1950s. Real frontier holsters sat high on the hip, slow to draw but safer to carry. Speed didn't matter. Proximity did. Let me walk you through what a real gunfight looked like. 2 men. Let's say a deputy and a cattle rustler. They've been circling each other all week. Finally, it happens outside the Long Branch Saloon, close enough to smell whiskey on each other's breath. The deputy draws first. His Colt catches on his belt. Half a second lost. He yanks it free and fires. Misses. The recoil jerks his arm up. His ears are ringing instantly. Black powder revolvers are loud. Louder than anything you've heard in a movie. Loud enough to disorient you. The rustler fires back. His round hits the saloon doorframe. Splinters explode. He fires again. This one hits the deputy in the shoulder. Not the chest, not the head. The shoulder. The deputy drops to one knee but doesn't stop. He fires twice more. One round goes into the dirt. The other hits the rustler in the gut. Both men are still standing, still armed. Both guns are clicking on empty chambers now because they lost count. The rustler stumbles forward with a knife. The deputy smashes him across the face with his revolver. They fall into the street wrestling. Dust everywhere. Blood everywhere. Someone finally pulls them apart. The rustler dies 3 days later from infection. The deputy loses the arm. Gangrene. That was a gunfight. No heroism, no honor. Just two men destroying each other at arm's length with tools that barely worked. Quick thing. If you're realizing everything you thought about the Old West was fiction, hit subscribe. We're tearing apart every myth Hollywood sold you. And smash that like button if you want more uncomfortable truths. Now here's where it gets darker. The gunfight ends. The story begins. Because whoever survives gets to tell the version that makes them look good. And the newspapers? They weren't interested in truth. They were interested in sales. So that messy close-range brawl becomes a thrilling duel. The accidental shoulder shot becomes expert marksmanship. The panic and fumbling become nerves of steel. Within a week, dime novels back east are printing illustrated covers showing two men facing off at 50 paces. Clean, dramatic, completely fake. And the legal system? A joke. Eyewitness testimony was worthless. 5 people saw the same shooting and gave 5 different stories. Juries were biased. Judges were corrupt or terrified. Verdicts depended on who you knew, what town you were in, and how good your lawyer could spin the narrative. Most gunfighters who became famous weren't famous for their skill. They were famous because they survived long enough for someone to write about them. Then those stories got reprinted, exaggerated, mythologized, while Bill Hickok shot a man from ambush. Doc Holliday participated in the Corral shootout where 30 rounds were fired at close range in 30 seconds, and only 3 men died. That's a 10% hit rate. But history didn't choose the accurate version. It chose the exciting version. Here's the thing that should bother you. Almost every legendary gunfight you've heard of has multiple conflicting accounts. The Earps versus the Cowboys, Billy the Kid's final moments, John Wesley Hardin's shootouts. We don't actually know what happened. We know what sold. The mythology of the Old West wasn't built on facts. It was built on profit, on entertainment, on Easterners wanting to believe the frontier was won by heroes with perfect aim instead of desperate men with malfunctioning weapons. And you believed it, we all did, because Hollywood kept the lie alive. So here's what you need to understand. Every Western gunfight you've ever seen on screen is a fantasy. The weapons didn't work that way. The men didn't fight that way. The Old West wasn't won by the fastest draw. It was survived by whoever got closest and fired first. That's the truth they don't sell on posters. If this shattered what you thought you knew, subscribe and hit that like button. We've got more Old West myths to destroy and they get so much worse. Drop a comment with your city and country. I want to know where you're watching from. And tell me, what other Western facts do you think are complete lies? Because next time we're talking about frontier justice and what the courts actually did to men who killed in self-defense. Trust me, you're not ready for that story, but you will be.